Hi, I'm Elly Bangs, and I'm excited to share with you my upcoming science fiction novel coming from Tachyon Publications in April 2021, called Unity. It's a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk novel about the last surviving fragment of a collective consciousness and the remorse-stricken mercenary that she hires to guard her as she makes a voyage to try to reunite with missing pieces of herself, essentially. And I will read you just a few minutes of the first chapter. We lay still, clutching each other in the muggy heat of my 3-by-3-meter coffin apartment, waiting to see if the world would end. Naoto and I, our complicated friendship transformed by pressure into a desperate kind of love for as long as it took the news to come in that doomsday had been called off again. EPAC and NORPAC were pulling back their subs and drones to their respective corners of the Pacific, settling back into their stalemate. They were standing down their nanoweapon stockpiles, and in that first deep breath my whole cluttered mind snapped into a focus as clear and sharp as broken glass. For 5 years now I'd been rotting in exile here in the sweltering submarine underbelly of Bloom City. Nothing up on dry land. Not the strife and desolation, not the keepers, not even my own guilt scared me more than the prospect of trying to make it through a sixth. So we cleaned ourselves up as best we could. Then we went to meet the mercenary who I hoped would get me out of that claustrophobic city, shepherd me across 1,000 kilometers of wasteland, and carry what little was left of me home. On second thought, maybe I should go alone, I whispered to Naoto on the elevator up to the lower habitat level. The favor I called in to arrange this meeting isn't worth much. There's a very strong possibility it's a trap. He was still tying back his unkempt hair. If it's a trap, you might need someone to get you out, he said. He gave me a long look. Are you sure you're up to this? I have to be, I said. He said, you don't look well. I rolled up the sleeve of my coveralls and stabbed a single-use Paxcalex injector into my arm, and he did the same. Even this short ascent would take us from 4 atmospheres down to 3. I answered, you've never seen me well. His eyes were bloodshot from more than the pressure change when he met mine, and my skin burned with a fresh wave of guilt that he'd spent the whole time we'd known each other watching me slowly fall apart, that we'd likely never see each other again after tomorrow, and that I knew, however well he hid it, how much more he wanted from me than I had to give. In some other world, we could have simply been in love. In some other worlds, maybe we could have been one person. In this universe, I was too broken for the former and too damned for the latter. The doors reeled open and we tugged our hoods up over our heads and put our heads down to walk. Past the Medusas guarding the elevator with machetes, on into the shoulder-to-shoulder foot traffic chattering to itself about the ceasefire, past one of Naoto's own murals, wherein waves of blue seawater morphed symbolically into yellow-gold fusion energy, onward into the perpetual aquapolitan dusk, thick with moisture and holographic light, to the booth in the smoke bar my contact had named. I froze when I saw the man who sat there waiting for us. What is it? Naoto asked, reading my face. Danae, do you know him? No, it's... What? He said. I shook my head. Working for Medusa Clan, I'd met any number of people who made a career of violence and death. Most of them, like Duke, put more work into the spectacle of their brutality than the brutality itself. They wore necklaces of human molars, swelled their muscles with carcinogenic gene therapies, tattooed their faces, and pierced their bones. Waiting there in the glowing smoke was a man who did everything he could to put up a clean facade, but the violence still shone through it. The scars on his scalp couldn't all be combed over. The skin graft around his eye and cheek was seamlessly bonded, but it reflected the wrong shade of brown under the harsh bluish lights here. I shuddered with the instinctive knowledge that the sight of him had been other people's last. But what stopped me in my tracks, what Naoto struggled to read in my expression, wasn't fear. It was an eerie certainty that I had seen this man before. I had, but I would be very far from Bloom City by the time I realized whose eyes I had seen him through. That is the first few pages of my upcoming novel, Unity, coming in April 2021 from Tachyon Publications.